Hello comrades, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program point 23.5, the latest release from Squad, and as you can probably guess, I've cut short the Minimus mission to interrupt with this fantastic new release. It's come out with the Asteroid Redirect mission pack that I was talking about in the first part of the Minimus mission, I think. The second part isn't going to be released because I've had some problems with audio and it's a bit kind of rubbish. So I thought I'd bin that and then we'll go for a fresh start with a new update. But yes, we're going to have a go with the new game mode, the campaign or career mode. And they've actually added a time warp sequence to the vehicle, the Space Center scene. And what they've also done is a recent addition to the astronaut complex. You can see they've added some snazzy new furniture in the background and some music and procedurally generated Kerbals over here, along with the three standard Kerbals, Bill, Jebediah and Bob, in the orange overalls. But yes, I've just jumped into a career mode save, and here's the Technology Center, the research and development facility where you basically unlock different parts by doing bigger and more adventurous missions, and essentially you get things called stuff called science to progress to the next technology tier. And then here is these science archives where you basically store all of your experiments. And then there's Werner von Kerman, who's just your lab technician, based on Werner von Braun, actually, the ex-Nazi rocket scientist who created the Mercury 7 Gemini and the Saturn V. He was the lead designer on Apollo, if I'm correct, I think. But yes, we're going to go off to the vehicle assembly building and we're going to start building our first spacecraft. So if we wait for this to load up, we don't have a vast array of parts to deal with, so I'm just going to start by putting down a command pod. Yeah, I'm just looking through these parts here, and that goes down there. Nothing much for me to choose from, so I guess I should probably go and put a parachute on now, if it will let me select it. And click. There we go. The Mark 16 parachute is no longer white, as it looks like in the parts menu. It's actually grey for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. That's a bit odd. Anyway, yes, I'm just going to simply stack fuel tanks to go as far as possible to gain some science. Because that's what we do, we work for the advancement of Kerbal kind. And that's our basic rocket. I'm just going to put the engine ignition in a different stage. Something we also need is a communicating device, which you basically transmit experiments from the command pod to the R&D facility. However, you do get more return if you recover the data each time, so you end up getting more science points. And another thing that Squad have also added is the decals to the side of the command pod. As you can see, I've got this big parts menu here, flags menu, and you can actually get the NASA flag because this update was designed in conjunction with NASA. I'll be doing like a showcase on that asteroid redirect mission in the future, but for now, I just thought I'd show you the decals, and you can see that the flag on the command pod changes with the flag on the side of the VAB. But yes, I'm just going to go ahead and add an extra fuel tank, just because I can, and because we get more power, more speed, and off to the launch pad we go. The game might be a bit slow at first because I'm running this on the fullest graphics settings, something that I haven't been doing in the .22 update because I've been making such big spacecraft that my computer can't handle it, unfortunately, but you know. So what I've done is slowed down the loading time, which isn't too good, but it's manageable because the rocket is so small. So yes, I'm going to turn on the SAS, throttle up to the max, and actually, before we launch, crew report. You can do crew reports to record the crew's assessment of the situation, and then you transmit that back to get science. And we're just going to keep the data for now because you need electric charge to transmit science, some of which we don't have. So you can gain electric charge by firing the engine, because the engine generates electric charge whilst it's running. So I've kept the data, and now we're going to launch, and the first rocket in Kerbal Space Program 0.23.5 has left the pad, and you can see that we are going up as straight as an arrow, and I would expect nothing less. And we're going up really fast as well, which is good because we have such a tiny amount of weight to lift. This flight isn't going to be very long. Yeah, crew report. See if I can review the report. Actually, I'll do that later. I'm just going to tilt over a little bit more. And we're going to go ahead and transmit that crew report. See how much science we get. 1.5 science, that's not too bad for a day's work. Jebediah. Doing 390 meters per second. 400 meters per second. We are accelerating very, very fast, 35 seconds into the flight. All systems are nominal. Jebediah is indeed very happy. And we can do another crew report while flying over Kerbin's water. And that should give us, the computer said it would give us 3.5 science. Yep, there it goes, 3.5 science. Our apophysis is at almost 30 kilometers. We might make it to the next continent, I don't know. And there goes our engine. All we have to do now is just glide down to terra firma. And we're decelerating quite quickly. So I'm going to pop the parachute. And hope that we don't spin straight out of control. We seem to be fine. I need to save electric charge because I'd like to do some stuff when we land in the ocean, when we splash down, so I've just turned off the reaction wheels. And we can do another crew report, actually. Resetting the experiment. I can do that. Because we're getting the same amount of science, so there's not really much point in doing it anyway. We're 10 seconds from the zenith of our orbital trajectory, our apoapsis. So I'm just going to time warp down. And no, I can't use the SAS because the reaction wheels are off. Damn it. Okay, that looks quite unsafe. Health and safety would not like that. So, oh no, I don't want to rename the spacecraft. Okay, I'm going to turn the reaction wheels back on again. There we go. We're decelerating pretty fast, and out comes the parachute. That is good. Very good indeed. "10 meters SAS on, and the hero has returned." That was a pretty faultless mission by the technology, which was good. We had no problems there. And another thing you can do is take surface samples. So I can take a sample from Kerbin's water. And also in space you can do EVA reports over planets and different biomes. So that's an EVA report I just did. And we get 12 science if we recover the data. Grab. Nope. Down. Not quite sure how he's climbing up an invisible ladder, but there we go. And we don't have electric charge, which is just as well, because otherwise I would have transmitted it out of sheer stupidity and lost 4 science. So we're just going to recover the vessel anyway. And here's our debriefing window, and we've got 27 science as a whole, and we earned 5 science by default, which means we can unlock some new components for our rockets. Mystery goo containment, that gives you a lot of science. Basically the Kerbals want to find out what this mystery substance is, so they just subject it to different temperatures and climates and situations to see what happens. And I don't know, radial decouplers are important, we need those. So general rocketry, that's a bigger engine, we don't need that just yet. So I just went and unlocked the stability tab, because those parts are useful. Telus mobility enhancers. Nope. Parachutes and LV909 engines. They are also very useful. That decoupler we've got now. I'm trying to think of what to do here, because I'd like to advance to the next tier of rocketry, so the bigger parts, you know, the mainsail type components. We actually ended up with a bigger engine at first than the engine that you get in that tab up there, which means that that was a win. But now that we have radial decouplers, we can start building a lot more complex staging systems. So that's out with the old and in with the new. As long as we don't have any science modules or science containing parts behind that decoupler that we have under the command pod, then we can recover all of the science, which is good. So I'm just going to go for these. This is our kind of transfer stage, if you like. This hopefully should get us into orbit. I'm not quite sure. And just an extra tank for good measure. Plonk that on the bottom. And I'm going to just whack some solid boosters onto the side, just for some extra oomph. So they go on there like so. Grab the SLBs. Plonk them on. And there's no point in adding these nose cones, but it just looks a bit more aesthetically pleasing. And it's not going to cost us very much in terms of weight or drag, so that's fine. It's only a 0.1 drag, I think. And I usually don't like using these because they're not moving control surfaces. I'm going to put them on the SLBs and the actual rocket itself, just so we maintain that stability. And the staging is all set up correctly, which is good. And one other thing we don't need the into symmetry is the mystery goo canister, so you just pop that on the back there, save, like that, and off to the launch pad. This is taking a bit of a while. Don't know if that's a problem. Hopefully it isn't. And here we are. It's just loading in the spacecraft right now. There we go, and we haven't given it a name yet, but SAS on, throttle up, and launch. This reminds me of the Trotsky 2, the first rocket we built in this KSP Let's Play series, which went into orbit and came back down again. I don't think this will quite get us into orbit. Hopefully it will. We are going a lot faster than we were, which is always a good sign. And the control module, the SAS module, that's what you call it, is struggling to cope with the massive kick up the arse the solid rocket boosters are giving us. It really wants to tilt over. You see the roll indicator is far away to the left, and the yaw is trying to compensate and jettison the SLBs. You can see we're slowing down after that boost, which is completely normal. So I'm just going to tilt over a little bit more. We don't need the throttle on, although we are decelerating, so I'd rather... Actually, now we're accelerating, which is good, but there's no point in really opening up the tabs because we have that little stage next, and we're going to ignite that engine. It's given us a right kick, so we don't need that much throttle. Maybe about there will be good. We're still going up at quite a rate. That stage is already 1.7 kilometers away. Excuse me. What we can do is observe the mystery goo. Or render this module inoperable. Okay, 2.1 science added. I don't think we're going to go to space. And I'm not going to transmit that crew report because... Oh, actually, we are going to go into space. That's annoying. We could have done a mystery goo observation in space, but I guess we can do that next time around, can't we? Because we can have one from the upper atmosphere and then from space, and whoa, that was unexpected. We still have quite a lot of fuel there, so I can probably aim to get into some kind of orbit like that. And our batteries are charging as we go. Transmit the data of the crew report, which is good. 3.5 science. And there goes our engine. Is it worth doing another crew report? No, I don't think so. Ah, but we can do an EVA report. So, if I get Jebediah out, using the EVA pack, we can just maneuver ourselves away from the spaceship, click EVA report, keep the data because Jeb can't transmit his science storage directly to R&D, so we have to use the antenna on the spacecraft. So if we just grab and board. And there's nothing really much we can do now because the mystery goo pod is inoperable. Apart from just let things drift down. We can review the stored data. We could transmit that data because we're going to get the same amount of science whether we recover it or transmit it, and I'd rather transmit it in case we crash and lose it. And immediately we don't have enough electric charge, which is annoying. Okay, yeah, the Communotron is still up, which means it's trying to transmit but it doesn't have any power, so I'm just going to abort the transmission, let the aerial slide in. I couldn't select it for some reason. It actually says jettison on the side of that mystery goo container. I wouldn't want to do that. That's slightly worrying. And we're falling pretty quickly, as you can probably tell. I don't know whether we're going to land in the sea. I'd rather land in the ocean than risk damaging the command pod by coming down on grass. We can get rid of the service module, point to retrograde very slowly. We don't have any reaction wheels, we don't want to break anything. And we are now in a kind of crazy freefall, which isn't really recommended for children 3 or under. Please keep your arms inside the vehicle at all times, and have your passports at the ready. Thank you. But of course, Jebediah has no concerns of these sorts of matters, because he is now in a fiery inferno, which looks fun. No, genuinely it does. And we just have to wait, really, sort of waiting game. Not really the most fun, but look at that glow. They've actually improved the re-entry effect. There's more sort of fire, and that's pretty much worthless. Here come the vortices. We're pretty much actually dropping vertically now, which is quite scary. I wouldn't want to be in that cockpit right now, considering that we are doing 300 meters per second downwards. We've still got 5 kilometers to go. I'm just going to go ahead and deploy the parachute. And then time warp all the way down to the ocean. And there we are, it's fully deployed. "30, 20, and stop time warping," and we have splashdown. We've done that surface sample, so we can't do that again, because we won't get any science for that, I don't think. So we can head straight back to the Kerbal Space Center and then check out the results of our test flight. 8 science. Oh, that's odd. I don't think it registered our mystery goo observation. Maybe it did. Anyway, maybe it's because we transmitted it rather than recovering it. That's why it didn't show up. I think we can afford to unlock the LV909. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Conscious of the fact that I may have made the wrong decision, although the LV909 is a really useful engine. A very useful engine. Flight control. The science technology. We get a new communotron and the science lab, which is what I was talking about earlier. So we're going to have to recover that each time we use it, just to get the maximum amount of science. And of course, the all-important batteries. Basic rocketry, solid rocket boosters, next to the separatrons, which basically separate stages in an explosive manner, which is always fun. But I think we have all the parts that we need for the moment. So we're going to go back to the VAB, off we pop, and modify our rocket slightly, I think. We can change the engine over for the LV909, which should get us into orbit with a lot more ease than the big engine, because we'll have a lot more running time with that. And no, I can't do that because I need another fuel tank. Rid myself of that engine, be gone. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll add an extra fuel tank in there just to maintain that excess. And that should get us into orbit. I think it will. Barely. But yes, that was one episode of the career mode, the research and design sort of aspect of the game's come to light. I'm going to be taking a few weeks off, but in the meantime I should be playing profusely on this, and expect to see a lot more progress. But I'll look onto the moon, I'll look onto Minmus by that time, so that we can progress onto the bigger stuff much faster. I'll obviously be editing together a montage, so you won't be missing out. But that's all from me, and I will see you next time on Kerbal's Space Program.